You should be outsourcing things like your email, your calendar, your travel bookings, all the low value tasks that you just should not be doing as an entrepreneur. So you can spend more time on those high value tasks.
All right, folks, welcome back to the High Voltage Business Builders podcast. Before we begin, I want to provide a full disclosure. Today's guest, David, is a current client of Voltage Business Builders, the incubator you guys may have heard about. David has been sharing his experience and personal results with us, which he's achieved while participating with us. Now, it's important to note David is not been compensated for his appearance today. That's correct, right, David?
Correct.
All right. And David's story is genuine. His individual outcomes can vary significantly, as you should all know about business if you paid attention to any of my podcasts. And the results shared are not typical and are not intended to guarantee specific outcomes for anybody listening to this today. Our 12 years of experience, methodologies, et cetera, that were trained into David, including systems, et cetera, were all part of the results that he helped get today. And of course, he has done his own heavy lifting and work, and I want to lift him up in that as we talk about it today. However, his business journey has been unique, and I want you guys to get some expanded insights into that. It's meant to inspire and inform, not to promise any results out of today's information. If you want to learn how to get these kinds of results, go to voltagedm.com. We'll talk about that later. So let's dive into this conversation, David, and let's unpack your journey from part 2. So folks, if you have listened to the first part, you're going to know where David is at. If not, I encourage you to go back. I don't even have the episode available. I should tell you what episode it is. I don't know which it is, like episode way back in the day. It's on the list. Go look it up, David. You'll see it. And then you'll catch up here with us today on part 2, or you'll reverse this and go backwards, but one way or another. You'll get some interesting insights, I believe, because of David, his knowledge as a practitioner now, definitely an operator, and certainly growing and elevating his business skills. So with that, welcome.
Thank you, Neil. Great to be back.
Great to be back with you too. So you've been a very busy guy since we last chatted. So you've been growing and you've been building and you've been adapting and you have been expanding yourself through reading and other, information and just continuing the process of growing. Why don't you give us a quick recap for anybody who hasn't quite watched part 1 yet? Give us a quick recap of your story as we kick this off here.
Yeah, sure. As you said in the intro, I joined ASIN 360 I don't know how long ago it was now. It's a big couple of years, I guess. And I think the business was doing around about 30K per month, maybe 40, 50 on a good month. And very quickly within, I think it was about 3 or 4 months, implementing the tactics that ASIN 360 taught me along with the great coach that I had. We were nudging up around 100K or just under 100K. 2 years of blood, sweat and tears and launching new products, expanding the range, new colors, new sizes. We've just had our first couple of months over 500K per month and 100K per month on Shopify. So I think it's fair to say that everything's going pretty well.
I'd say it's all going pretty well. That's good. Congratulations on those results. And I think it's important people understand that timeline. So that's about 3 years into the process of building this business to get where you are. And I think that's realistic, don't you? I mean, are you happy with those results?
Yes and no. The funny thing is I can see lots of opportunity to do more. And it's always a matter of bandwidth and how much can you do? Not just bandwidth, but also capital. When you're growing, and anyone who grows a business, whether it's Amazon or somewhere else, will quickly find out that unless you've got someone else's capital behind you, you're plowing everything back into purchasing more inventory. And our product's not a cheap unit. We're up around $30 per unit and we sell for $150 to $180-ish. So, our orders from China are now getting up around $350,000 per order.
Yeah.
So it's
growing pains and the balance of business and entrepreneurialism. That's a hard word for me to say. And really understanding where your risk level is, right? Which is something that has gone along from 3,000, 30,000 a month way up to where you are now at $500,000 a month is quite a growing ambition, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But, as I said, my coach that I had, Daniel, he's great. And he said to me, if you can get the business to pay back you everything you've invested. Yeah. And for me, I think I've probably got about 500,000 to 600,000 of my own money invested in the business now. If we can get it all paid back, then essentially we've got nothing in the business and the business just runs.
Yes.
And if something happens, if we have a recession, there's a bit of a downturn, I've got nothing at risk, but I'm not at that point at the moment. So I've actually put into my financial budget to pay myself back 50,000 per month next year to get that debt cleared. So, I have a financial planning session with my CPA every year in December, and we plot out the next year. We work out realistically what we can afford to buy in inventory. Amazing. And how we're going to get our capital back out.
Amazing. That's good. And that's great planning, and it's good perseverance. And of course, being very pragmatic about the growing in the business, which is amazing as well. Where do you find some of that strength lately in things you've read, people you've talked to, stuff we've been working on?
Well, I have a bunch of mentors. It's obviously Action 360, you and Reed and Daniel. And I have another mentor in the retail space, which we had a dabble with a while back, but that didn't work out for various reasons. But we're going to America's Mart in Atlanta next year to look at a small to medium-sized retail.
Yep.
So I have my mentors. I read books, and as we were discussing earlier, the best book I've read lately is a book, and I've been telling this to my mentor, my mastermind group here in Melbourne, Australia, that best book I've read lately is a book called Buy Back Your Time. I forget who the author is, but it's just amazing because most people who enter this e-com space, they buy themselves a job, they do all the admin, they do everything, which you have to do to begin with.
Sure. Work the process.
But then they outsource the wrong things. They outsource things they love. They go, I need a marketing guru, or I need this, or I need that, or I need a supply chain guru.
Right.
What the book teaches you is you should be outsourcing things like your email, your calendar, your travel bookings, all the low value tasks that you just should not be doing as an entrepreneur. And so you can spend more time on those high value tasks. Eventually you might, have a marketing manager or whatever, but that's not the first thing you do.
That's such great insight, dude. And that's something that we've talked about in the past. And it's part of I know, and met Daniel and others, and if you just look at us and the way we run our ecosystem, there's a lot of people around us supporting us at the different levels of things that they're just kind of, I would call them minutia. The calendar, the scheduling, the administrative stuff, those things are all off the table to allow us time to focus on what are operational controls, right? Operational metrics and things that make sense, down to even, your tacos cost and what you're going to run for a product, and whether your PPC or organic is balanced out, or whether you need to take more profit because you're going to run less aggressive on your PPC, right? Where do you see yourself falling into that, and maybe even in some of the tactics of where you are, so people can get a visual into a size of business like this, running certain types of metrics at the bottom line?
So I now have an admin assistant, a PA, EA, whatever you want to call them. She's based in the Philippines. So, paying Philippines rates. I mean, sure, would it be better to have someone in Australia? Maybe, I don't know. But anyway, to begin with, dipping my toe into this area, the Philippines is a great starting point. We also have two others in the Philippines. We have an Amazon account manager who is kind of looking at listing quality, performance, violations, all that kind of stuff. And we have a content creator who works with our social media manager. So our social media manager is in Texas. And so she works with the content creator in the Philippines, and they do all the reels and the TikToks and the images and the carousels and all that stuff, which someone of my age just can't get their head around.
You don't want to be twerking on TikTok, dude? Seriously?
Who else do we have? I have an operations manager here in Australia on the Sunshine Coast who always reminds me how much better the weather is up there compared to Melbourne.
That's nice.
Our agency that does Google and Meta is here in Melbourne, and our agency that does email and SMS is in Bulgaria.
And those are for your Shopify channels, the paid traffic media.
Yep. And it's one other person. We have returns and customer service in California.
Got a lot of structure in place. It's taken a little while to get through that process. Yeah, that's fantastic. But you mentioned something in there about, you didn't mention whether or not you outsource your PPC campaigns or whether you do it yourself.
Well, here's a story which Daniel can tell you about. Well,
lay it on me, man.
In the past 2 years, we've been through 4 agencies. So it usually goes down the usual processes. They do the audit. They tell you where all the gaps are and what wonderful things they're going to do.
Right.
And then they hand you off to a junior PPC consultant who might be managing 15 or 20 other accounts. And the one thing they do, which really annoys me, is they quite often delete campaigns that are running well, and then because they want to rewrite everything in the way they do it. It costs you a fortune in the process. So some of these agencies might be okay when you're doing lower numbers, but now we're getting up to the point that we can't afford to have people making mistakes like that. Mm-hmm. So we actually brought it in-house.
Okay.
My operations manager and I got some training. We now manage about 1,500 campaigns, but we're which was a great learning experience. It really got us to deep dive into what's working, what's not working. But we've now realized that that's not the activity we should be doing. It's not a good use of our time, but it was a great learning experience. So now we're probably looking to recruit somebody who just loves PPC and loves data and just put them on, maybe initially as a contractor, then eventually as an employee, to just spend all their time doing PPC and getting the most out of it.
Yeah, sometimes it helps to outsource that. I know for our accounts and operations, we have Jonah who basically helps with this tool we use, Solozo, to go in and kind of look at those reports and then make decisions basically under templates and driven decisions. So he doesn't have to micromanage it all, which allows him, his time to be freed up to go out and do those things, because they can be very overwhelming if you're trying to micromanage too many campaigns, too much changes, too much. And at this point, we're all competing machine to machine. And if you're competing human to machine at this point, you're going to lose in the PPC world. Am I wrong?
Yeah. I mean, we've had weeks where our TACOS has been like 35%, which, I mean, that just eats straight into your net profit, and weeks where it's kind of under 20. I think we've averaged for the year around 25%, but we do want to get it down. But it's that balancing on spending to scale versus spending enough to meet your profit numbers. And you've got to kind of work that balancing act out.
Where does 25 fit for you in the overall business? Are you in acquisitions at that point, or are you on cruise, or are you?
No, we're growing.
Okay.
We've been growing, doubling our revenue year on year. So 25 we grow, but it does lead into our net profit. So our net profit is probably around 15%. So if I want to see a 20% net profit, I've probably got to get it down to 20.
Or put back some seller discretionary earnings when you get ready to sell it.
Yeah. Well, SDE would be
SDE.
a bit higher.
It'll be a little bit higher, no doubt. Well, it's an interesting lesson because not everybody understands that. And you're right. There's this idea that, I'm never going to be good enough to understand this, so I have to outsource everything, as opposed to the middle ground of a business owner who is dangerous enough to know what he needs to do and then properly gets the right people to execute it. That's a tough learning lesson in so many aspects of the business. So there are other areas of the business where you're learning that same lesson?
Yes and no. I mean, we have a brilliant email SMS agency who looks after that stuff. We did take on the wrong agency for Measure and Google. We've now got a new agency who's still only 2 months in, but first 6 weeks of them taking over Google, basically we were targeting all branded words. We weren't doing any keyword targeting or anything. Okay. We were cruising at about 6.5 to 7 ROAS on Google. And we're just like, oh, wow, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then sales just tanked.
Okay.
And so from Europe, I'm on the laptop with the agency going, what's going on? What have you changed? There's a website, something wrong with the website. Yeah. They're also doing website development.
Okay.
A bit of that for us. And anyway, they did a lot of digging and found out that PMax, which is like Google's AI ad campaign, had just decided to change all the parameters and PMax had just completely tanked. And it was really hard to work out why.
Which component of the PMax? Yeah, I've played with that, and there's only some things you can change and other things you don't control any aspect of it.
Yeah. So we canned that campaign and relaunched PMax because it was just going so well. It just dumbfounds me why a company that's getting such a great return would just tank it when we were putting our budget up, we were growing, we were spending more money.
Yeah.
And then it just tanks. And you go, all right, well, we've got to cut my spend back till we work out what's going on.
Mm-hmm. So, well, problem solving. I mean, yeah, that sucks. But I'm not going to say that was good. But it's problem and shift and solve and maneuver is just basically, the topic of the day when you run business, isn't it? A series of solving problems is an aspect of what we do, right? Did they get it figured out then eventually?
Early days, don't know yet.
Early days, still in it. Okay.
It's only been running a few days. Sales are starting to come back up. So
yeah.
And what we did, and again, problem solving. So PMax started, for people who don't know, it's Google's AI driven ad campaign, and it will do a mixture of search, display, shop,
email,
ads,
shop, all kinds of stuff.
And it attacked the display and the shop ads that were doing really well. So what we've done is we've created old school shop and display ads to replace PMax and cancel that out with PMax for now.
Yep. They take a little longer to work, take a little more effort to get up and running, but they should be more evergreen the longer you get them dialed in. Although it takes a bit more. PMax has it's been great in some ways and terrible in others. We don't run it for any campaigns we have, but I ran it for lead gen just to see how it would work. And kind of fascinated by how it doesn't actually work. The way that you actually run, I'm like, wow, this is kind of crappy. So most people are starting to figure out, don't really mess around with PMax. unless you want to run into troubles. But hey, lessons learned. I mean, everybody's got to try it, right? On that side of the house. So where are you? Okay, so you've got 2 months of $500,000 in sales. That's feeling pretty good, right? Your tacos is running about 25% over the year. We're halfway through 2024 by the time we're recording this, heading to 2025. What's the next half of the year look like for you? What are you planning? What are you executing? What are you looking to do?
Mastermind group I belong to here in Australia, founder, they're very big on influencer marketing. And I know you've jumped into TikTok and things. So we've got to get our heads around that. We are doing a little bit, but we're doing it all kind of product for content, product for post, kind of cheap.
Yeah.
So we've got to work out, there's social media manager, she wants me to allocate a budget so she can spend money on influencer marketing. So I've got to work out how much do we spend and how do we guarantee we get a return on that. So I'm trying to learn about that. And media, what's been really good for us in growing our brand and being able to charge a premium price on Amazon is the media we've received. I have put a lot of effort into chasing down the likes of New York Post, The Spruce, Better Homes and Gardens, Real Simple, Cosmopolitan. And we've had write-ups. A lot of write-ups has been, I think it was New York Post gave us best cooling bed sheets 2024, something like that. Getting that media has enabled us to put our prices up, not down. You know, a lot of people think Amazon is a race to the bottom on price.
Nope. No, it's not.
So, yeah, I mean, if you search our product or our niche, you'll find that we're the highest seller selling exactly that product. And of course, we got bamboo sellers and other cotton sellers and things in that niches, in that search term as well, who sell more. But eucalyptus sheets, I think we sell the most.
That's amazing, dude. And it's, those write-ups and that need and what you'd said, the race to the bottom. So many people think that it's all about the sub pricing on Amazon and you're only going to get the profitability off the, volume and the vanity metrics and stuff. And, it's good to hear you kind of extolling the values of things we've been talking about for a long time and actually realizing it, seeing it, executing it and moving forward. It's really cool, dude. It's just a blessing to see how well you're doing and how far you've come.
Well, a lot of people, thank you. A lot of people say you have to differentiate on Amazon or you can't compete. And there is obviously truth to that. And being in the bedding niche, it is hard to differentiate. So we've done a few things. There are many ways you can construct the end product. So, you have a specific kind of fabric weight and a specific kind of weave and things that make our product a little bit unique. We also use a licensed fiber called Tencel. So the fiber we use is called Lyocell, but the branded version is Tencel, which is a closed loop, very highly sustainable product that comes out of Eastern Europe from plantation eucalyptus that doesn't use any insecticides or pesticides and doesn't need watering because eucalyptus trees, as we know, here in Australia, just grow anywhere.
Grow everywhere. Yeah.
So if you don't see the brand name Tencel on a listing, then it's probably Chinese Lyocell. So you don't really know what they're using, what kind of chemical solvents they're using to make the product. So we are a very sustainable product. We don't use any plastic in our packaging. So we've tried to elevate the brand and we're now looking at other ways to do that. Yeah. So we're kind of differentiated, but bedding is a hard thing to differentiate. The other way is obviously more colors, more sizes, new products. We brought on a comforter, which has added about 150,000 a month to the sales. So
dropping new products in to expand the brand line out and sell more things to more people in the same brand. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? I talk about this a lot, which is really great to see you doing that, dude. That's fantastic. Where you've opened Shopify, you've gone to Amazon. Are there any other channels you're opening this year?
Well, we're looking at small to medium sized retail. So that's why I'm coming to Atlanta in January to check out the big trade fair that caters to that niche. If that looks like an opportunity, we might exhibit in July fair. Yeah. We've also bought another brand. We bought another bedding brand. It was distressed. Yeah. Okay. So we grow that as well.
Acquisitions growth. Okay. Very smart.
Yes. Yeah, so just in the process of taking that over. It's had a few teething problems, but we've had our inventory sitting at the manufacturer for a month because of that challenges of getting set up right on Amazon, but it'll get there eventually.
Well, that is amazing, dude. Opening the retail space for you could be a tremendous win, given the history you've got. I'm surprised someone hasn't already approached you yet from Amazon and said, hey, we'd like to get you in their space. Or have they? I don't know if I've heard you say that.
Not from Amazon, no.
Okay. Yeah, there's a number of times we've been approached from products we've got on Amazon. They're like, hey, we want to wholesale you, put you in a retail and move them out, which is cool. which can hopefully happen for you. The word is getting out, which would be awesome. Or you can drive up some of your own interest by getting out there. And that's fantastic. And by the way, we should talk after this about your TikTok strategy and about your affiliate strategy. I can help save you some dollars and help you kind of explode that. So new things for us to talk about after this call. Yeah, let's talk about it. But so next, okay, so growth expansion through 2024 into 2025. And then what? What are you thinking? Another couple of years of this and then maybe take it out to market? Or are you thinking you're going to hang on to it? Or what's your goal here, bud?
I don't know. It always worries me. I haven't had a big payday. I'm putting all the money back into inventory. So, I drove around in an old car. I don't live a very flash. My biggest purchase has been a pair of Apple headphones.
You've always been that guy. You could change your numbers up, David, and take more profit. I know you're reinvesting in your business, which is awesome because there's a future in that, as we've discussed.
Yeah. I'll maybe sell in a couple of years.
You're so pious. Perfect.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe sell in a couple of years or 3 years. I don't know. But then, if it's making good profit, as we can bring up the other brand and we can get like over $1 million per month and on a 20% profit. Okay. It's paying me $200,000 a month in profit.
Yep.
Do you then trade that for a couple of years? I don't know.
Those are good questions to think and ponder over a good cup of coffee and a book at some point and figure out, what makes sense for you when. But I do know that you had mentioned earlier that, one of the things that's brilliant about your execution of the strategy we taught you for organic versus PPC is a few of your products are almost all organic, are they not?
Yeah, our hero product, which is the sheet set, which is obviously the most popular bedding product in the US and probably everywhere else. We are currently running a tucker of about 6% and about 90% organic. So, half of me says, just keep doing that because it's propping up products that maybe aren't quite as profitable. Or is there opportunity to really push that harder? And, what are we leaving on the table? Funny thing is, we implemented inventory management software about late last year sometime. And the very first thing it told me is we'd left $1.6 million on the table because we're out of stock. So
that's a hard realization.
So I was like, great. Anyway, so that's been part of the cost of ramping up the inventory to meet what the forecast is telling us from that system.
Yeah.
But then, I look at the 6% tuckers on the sheet.
It's hard to give up. There's your iPad, your iPads, your iPhones and everything you're looking at going, I'm not sure if I'd spend money on that, but there's an aggressive, you could jump up that to 8 to even 10% and really see that churn quite a bit harder. Even though, look, it's the whole strategy that we deployed was the organic side. It's still possible to do that level of organic, even though everybody tells you it's not. That's definitely a real thing but it has to do with certain aspects of the algorithm now. And everybody doesn't really understand that. We've talked.
Yeah. I don't know why it's doing so well, but we track the PPC stats every day. I have the VA puts it into a spreadsheet for me.
Yeah.
And regularly hitting 90%, always between 80 and 90.
I can tell you why it's doing so well. You know why it's doing so well. It's in demand. It is the capture. You've got the better metrics. You've got more profit and you're holding your inventory. That's why you're keeping the highest organic. So hopefully somebody picks that up and understands what I just said. For their business. Now, you could go out and acquire more customers. That's just a business decision on how much faster you want to grow and capitalize even to the next level. But, the old saying is if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So, keep tarrying on, opening the additional channels and just doing a bang up job, dude.
Stay in stock.
Yeah, stay in stock. Yeah, do not let that happen. Boy, the speed at which you run now, right? Stockouts become much more challenging. So is there something I didn't ask you that you wanted to cover on this call?
I don't think so. I think we've covered all the main points.
A lot of good stuff in a short amount of time. Thank you for that. Also, just I think one other question, just for people who are listening to this, and wondering, what about me? Is this a good time? Is it too late to get in? Is all the good stuff happened? And, there's a lot of fear in the market in the world right now. And you said something earlier about, well, look, I'm in a position where I'm not as risky in the business to go up or down. The people who are new, somewhere in the middle and somewhere wanting to grow, what would you tell them from your own experience?
Well, I remember when I started back in 2018, a program I belonged to had a speaker at their conference who said that Amazon would be done and dusted by 2019. I was like, that sounds good.
That's a bold prediction. Or is he eating his shoe now?
So it's just got bigger and bigger. And as Daniel says, to me all the time, there's a big pie out there and we only need a very little piece of it. So I would say to somebody, definitely try it. Don't overextend yourself on your first product, because your first product may fail. My first product failed. I've launched a brand that failed. I mean, obviously, when you get higher up and you're making more money, you can afford some of those mistakes. But when you're starting out, you've got to be careful. So use the green light, to identify product opportunities, and don't overextend yourself, but, and follow the program, because when you do, it works.
Well, you said it, not me. So from your own words, as the results go, I know it works. I'm glad that you finally got it and understand it and know that it works too. That's all we want for you, man. And it's so great. And it's such an honor to have you on here, to tell your story and just keep crushing it. And we got some more things to talk about. So I'm going to let everybody go. And thank you so much for joining us on the call. Appreciate it.